Once again, inshallah, we humbly request the brothers who are in the back room, if they can kindly proceed inside or outside so the sisters could come in. As you all know, alhamdulillah, construction is ongoing, and in light of the construction, we have to make certain adjustments in respect of what's happening. So jazakumullah khairan to everyone for their understanding, and we thank everyone for their patience in regards to parking and moving in the parking lot. Of course, this construction project is very unique as it is an addition to the current building and facility that we have. So there will be certain level of inconvenience for the next few weeks, inshallah. So again, brothers, if we can kind of give that space for the sisters to come in, and then we could begin, inshallah. Before we start, brothers and sisters, just to catch you up as to what you're seeing on the wall. This was presented here at the masjid on the 26th of October. But subhanAllah, due to the fact that there was a few other events happening around and we could not advertise this in a way that we should have, we didn't have that much response from the community. And I feel it's imperative that we repeat it only because with your participation and your involvement, this will ultimately become discussions beyond this place tonight. And inshallah, I'll be building the case and also laying out for everyone what it is that I'm trying to embark upon for all of us, inshallah. The last one we had was close to an hour and 20, so inshallah I'm going to do my best to compress it and have things done sooner in respect of time. And inshallah we will give time for people to inshallah ask questions as the need arises, inshallah. So alhamdulillah, the sisters are coming down, and inshallah I think we will begin. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد رب يسر ولا تؤثر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما والحقني بالصالحين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. So brothers and sisters in Islam, jazakumullah khairan once again. Thank you all for being here. I want to begin tonight by posing a question. And that question is, now what? There was a time when there was no community center. Are you all in agreement with me? I'm new to this area. But before this masjid did not exist, correct? The Muslim community came together and prayed at a shopping mall or at home, subhanAllah. The history of every masjid in America, mashallah. It starts off in a home with a family or two, and then it expands to a shopping mall or a unit in a strip mall, and from there, mashallah, land is purchased and a masjid is built, and subhanAllah, the community grows, and then the masjid is expanded and expanded again and expanded once more. That's the history of Plano, right? And then what? It is imperative that we ask the questions we don't want to talk about. I've been saying this for the longest time since I came to America in 2002. That if we don't focus on a long-term vision, if we don't focus on the sustainability of our communities, our centers, and our religion, if we don't focus on our ability to be a part of the community, and number 4, if we don't focus on facilitating human resources that can address and tackle the needs of the moment, we are not going to exist for too long. Never let our current situation fool us. Masjids like the masjid in Qurtuba. Where's Qurtuba? Anyone? Spain. The masjid of how many pillars? 1,000 pillars. Today you cannot make sajda in that masjid. It's no longer a masjid. Last year you might have saw on Facebook that someone was calling the adhan in that masjid. They did it haphazardly, unofficially, but reality is they were not allowed to do that. The masjid which once was a hub for Muslims to come and learn, for Muslims to come and mediate their situations and their problems, for Muslims to come and pray, for Muslims to come and empower themselves, ended up becoming only a place where people came to pray. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back, because after that the masjid was gone. So as your Imam here, my goal, as I had long discussions with the previous board and with the Amir of the Shura, there has to be a plan. And that's one of the things I promised, that we will put together a plan so that the community and I can understand what is needed and how we can do that together for a better future for us, our children, and our grandchildren, inshallah. Inshallah? Does that make sense to everyone? If not, take my words home. Actually, take it to the bank. Masjids will start closing in America in the next 10 years. Take it to the bank. We had one masjid in America that was closing this last Ramadan. There was a GoFundMe campaign to help pay off its mortgage. Because I don't know if you know, masjids now are competing with one another in growing in size and in beauty and in luxury, that they're taking bank loans and mortgages to do that. And if you're struggling to make that facility your masjid, your pride, your honor, it's not going to last long. We have a big problem in front of us, and may Allah allow us to see what's coming. Ameen. Because the one thing we're lacking as a Muslim community is long-term vision. We're very short-sighted. We only see things when they hit us in the face, and that cannot happen for too long. Moving along, what is the purpose of a masjid? For many, if you ask them today, the general consensus of those who participate in the masjid, who come to the masjid frequently, is a masjid is a place where we pray, where we learn, where people can get some zakat, and where people can learn about Islam. Right? This is like the general consensus. But in reality, a masjid is the center of the community. What is it, everyone? Center of the community. It's not the community center. It's the center of the community. When Masjid Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam was built, the community continued to grow, expand, strengthen because of it. It was the drawing point. It was the focal point that drew the masses towards it. There are many families that I have met in my last 3 months that told me because of this masjid, they moved here. Because of our education programs that we have for the children who are challenged in their health, people have moved here from other states. There is something interesting to note about that. That this place makes decisions for people. This place draws people towards it. So the masjid is the center of the community. It is a spiritual hub for all Muslims. It doesn't matter how far we go in our technology or in our abilities. We could land on Mars once again like they did yesterday, and we could go to wherever else. The one need no human being can negate is the spiritual need. I was saying a few weeks ago in another discussion that in my recent trip to Toronto, what I found repeatedly in all the discussions from all different faiths, old faiths and new faiths, was the importance of spirituality. And these were not Muslims, but they were saying spirituality is such an important factor in a person's life. And subhanAllah, our deen revolves around our soul. We enrich our soul, we strengthen and purify our heart, then we can align our actions, our thought process, our decision making with the Quran and the Sunnah. But it has to come from inside. So no Muslim in this community can feel that they are not in need of spirituality. Everyone needs spirituality, the Muslims and the non-Muslims. So the masjid serves as a spiritual hub for all Muslims. It is a place where we congregate and unite as one people. Congregation is a means for our unity. We pray Jumu'ah every week, yes? We come to the masjid for salah. What's the reason? so that as we do these acts of worship, we can unite as a ummah. An ummah isn't just because we have 10, 15,000 people in Collin County or more, or close to 300,000 Muslims in the Dallas vicinity area. It is because our thoughts, our goals, our ambitions, what we aspire for, what our problems are, what we need solutions for, it's for all of us. It's not just for me or for you, it's for all of us. So to unite as one people is the staple of what this masjid should be about and all masajid should be about. Lastly, where we learn, apply, practice, and then propagate from here to the rest of society. We learn our Islam, we learn values, we learn character, we put it into our lives, we teach others about it, and we make it go viral, as they would say. The 4 key pillars of a masjid. The masjid stands on 4 invisible pillars. How many, everybody? 4. Number 1 is spirituality. I just spoke about it, the importance of spirituality. No one can negate that. When we talk about spirituality, we need to understand that the one thing that draws our heart to this house is the need for my soul to be charged. Everything else, in addition to that, is secondary. Basketball court is secondary. Community night is secondary. Food and fun is secondary. When we start making these the prime objective of our masjid, know that we are going into cardiac arrest. This is what we call the last-minute dash. Do something to save people. Let's build a basketball court. The youth will come. By the time we build it, those youth are no longer youngsters. And the ones that come after them, it's a short stay, a short transition, and then back out they go. You can never compete with the YMCA. You can never compete with AMC Cinema. You can never compete with the mall. This masjid is not in competition with the world. They're providing those facilities better than us. Our source, our hub, our pillar is spirituality. Number 2, education and enlightenment. Not only do we learn knowledge, but we are enlightened by that knowledge and have the ability to apply it in the world we live in the time that we live in that world. Number 3, community and connection. We're here to build a community and to connect as one community. To rebuild that trust, to establish trust, to uphold trust, to be there for one another for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to look beyond racial lines, ethnical lines, social status lines, and realize every person sitting next to you, in front of you, behind you, is your brother or sister in Islam. If that can come into us and we can understand that the value of faith, the blood of faith is thicker than the blood of relatives, then mashallah, this 3rd pillar will be upheld. And last but not least, the purpose of the masjid is service. Through the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, humanity was served. Christians came, Jews came, pagans came, prisoners of war came, the poor came, the rich came, the naked came. Yes, the naked came. Ashab al-Sufa, the students of Islam, some of them were naked, but they also came because they were coming to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This house of Allah is a hospital. We don't judge who walks through the door. We hope once they walk in, they can be who Allah wants them to be, and then they walk out. You understand this? We are to serve humanity. We're not here to serve my motives, your motives, my intentions, or my agenda. We're here to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That being said, what is the definition of an imam? Now, the biggest problem in America is we lack imams. I spoke about this last time, and I'll briefly tell you. In 2012, NPR did a segment on imams in masajid in America, where at that time we had 2,300 masajid and musallas in America. Today we stand close to 3,000 masajid and musallas. Out of them, whichever congregation is more than 100 plus people, only 42% of those masjids have an imam. Does everyone understand that? Imagine America has 3,000 hospitals and only 42% of those hospitals have doctors. I'm not even talking about specialists, doctors. So you better wish that if you have to go hospital, you go to a hospital that has a doctor. If not, the nurse will become the surgeon. the nurse will become everything and beyond. The biggest downfall for Islam in America is the fact that we don't have the leadership to help the need. The supply and demand is a big crater in between the two. And out of the 42% that have imams, and again, what defines an imam, that's a discussion for another day. But in my opinion, a person who's not only educated in Islamic knowledge and has suhbah and tarbiyah through certain teachers or institutions, but they have the ability to relate that knowledge to the common day and its people and allow them to grow to where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wants us to be. It's an art and it's a work. And so only 42% have masjids, and 4 out of 5 of those imams in those masjids are foreign, meaning they came from outside countries. What does that mean? There's a language barrier, there's a generation gap, and there's a cultural gap. So we understand what's happening to our children. This is a big problem. So many people feel an imam just leads prayers, teaches children, preaches to the world and the community, conducts nikah, walima, aqiqah, janaza, and responds to the need of every member. You could call the imam or email the imam or knock his door and he's always going to be there. MashaAllah, that's good. There's nothing wrong against that. As an imam needs to have 3 tools in his belt. Number 1 is knowledge. Number 2 is character. That what that individual is presenting reflects that knowledge and nothing but. And last but not least, in America, we need leadership. I sat down with a congregation and a delegation that came from Morocco up in Canada in the beginning of this month. There is something that Morocco is doing for the entire region of Africa and for Europe. They're training imams and they're allowing them to understand the importance of upholding the deen and to stay away from extremism. I asked the head of the delegation, you are a Muslim country, you employ your imams, and you're telling me they're not even educated? He said, that's a sad reality. We found out a few years ago that some of these imams that were appointed were not educated, did not understand the religion, and they were preaching things that were contradictory to Islam and contrary to the values of the country. This is a big problem. I don't know if we see this. This is a very big problem. So I asked them a question. That's where we stopped. How do you expect us here in the West to have our game straight and our act right when you guys don't have your act right? This is a global crisis. Islam is growing, alhamdulillah. But at the same time Islam is growing, many of our children are leaving Islam. Remember this. This is not a fairy tale. There are children leaving Islam every day. And I've met so many of them. This is a fact. So we need to live what we're learning, and we need to have leadership to take the people from here to the next stage, to the next level. Over here on the side, I gave some time for you all to see. This kind of encompasses some of the many roles an imam has, from civic responsibilities, civil responsibilities, religious responsibilities, and pastoral responsibilities. I'll inshallah highlight to you some of the things that have been accomplished, mashallah, in this masjid in the last 3 months. But of course, just look at that. From conducting nikahs, marriage counseling, going to public schools, going to interfaith events, speaking with our interfaith partners, speaking with our civic leaders. There are many things that Imam does, and this is just some of them that, mashallah, this organization put together, Imams Online. So now the question I pose to you all tonight, in the presence of a masjid and an imam, alhamdulillah, we have both right now, how do we benefit from the two as a community? Number 1, everyone, we understand that there is work to do. If we can understand this tonight, we've accomplished a great thing. If we are complacent and we say, alhamdulillah, we have everything, what else do we need? That's where we're going to go down. There is work to do. Number 2, we all are in need of that work. None of us, including myself and my family, could say that we're immune from these needs, and we don't need them. Let me tell you something very, very quickly. There are conversations happening in our community. Hear me very clearly. Conversations happening in our community, in our children, especially those who don't attend the masjid, to do things which can smear the name of our faith on a large scale. There's a mindset that's being created that if you commit suicide, you'll become a shaheed. You cannot gain understanding of Islam if you're not here. I'm not saying I'm the source. We have great scholars and teachers here like Sheikh Arsalan, Sheikh Hasim, mashallah. It's not about what I'm trying to say about myself. This is not about me, not about marketing myself. This is about us understanding if we're not coming here, where are we learning from? I remember families in Florida that used to say, Alhamdulillah, I don't take my kids to the masjid. I don't expose them to the masjid because they don't need to be part of this nonsense. Today their children are 100 miles away from Islam. They've left Islam. So none of us can say, oh, everything is fine, because those who were affected by a hurricane, a tsunami, an earthquake, or a mass tragedy didn't wake up this morning expecting it. Nor did they grow up at the age 5 and go to school and say, when I grow up, I want to die in a tsunami. They didn't say that. When I grow up, I want to have a divorce. They didn't say that. We don't plan for these things or prepare for them. But what we do plan for is to ensure that we minimize the chances of these things happening to us in our family. Last but not least, we need to come together in order to accomplish it, and we cannot feel content with our current state. How do we all move forward from this state to the next? Number one, we are not where we need to be. Our community should understand we are not where we need to be. We need to pave the path for the next generation and ourselves. We need to work together, the board, the community, and the Imam, and we need to hand off to the next generation something they could build off of. So in light of this on the wall is the vision for the next 3 years, inshallah, to spiritually root the Muslims of today with contemporary understanding of Islam and the faith to become the leaders of tomorrow. What we need to understand is every single one of you sitting here and every single one of your spouse and your children and your grandchildren, inshallah, are Muslims because Allah has given us the tools to become leaders in our capacity. We are followers of Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but we are leaders. Kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi. All of you are leaders and shepherds. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying this, you will be asked about your leadership role. So we are not here to play games. We're not here to just sing kumbaya. We're not here to just do prayers in Taraweeh and Ramadan. We're here to do some work. And alhamdulillah, we all need to understand that this is important for all of us. This is the 3-year vision. How is it going to happen? Inshallah, for the next 6 years, this year, which is from now to 2019 December, everything that I'm presenting to this community, consulting with, of course, the board and the other scholars that are in this masjid, my focus, inshallah, and our focus will be on enriching our, everyone, hearts. We want to start from the source of our individual building process. This is told to us by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If this heart is right, everything else will be right. We need to focus inwards. And then number 2, inshallah, next year in 2020, we'll be focusing on empowering souls. To allow each person to understand the potential they have and allow them to build on it. Why? Because in 2021, inshallah, we're going to enable those leaders. We're going to make them in a capacity that inshallah they can do what they do best in their capacity with mutual consultation and guidance. And inshallah, beyond that, this masjid, inshallah, we will be showing to the masajid around us, in this county, in this city, and in this state and beyond, how a masjid focuses on a sustainable vision, on a long-term vision. We're talking 50 to 100 years down the road. We have to look that far. And if you think I'm wrong, then I ask you a simple question. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam a responsibility, a duty to propagate the message of Islam to the entire world, all of human beings till the day of judgment? He was told to think for the next 2,000 years or more. So we today have to understand, or less, of course we're only 1,400 years in, but we have to start thinking for that long term, inshallah. Before we go into the breakdown, anyone have any question thus far on this? Alhamdulillah, we're moving along pretty well, and I'll be asking you all for some assistance as we move along. But whatever was said thus far in regards to the case, the masjid, the imam. Anyone have any questions? Sisters included? No? Inshallah? Let's move on, inshallah. So we are this year, inshallah, focusing on how we can enrich hearts through leadership. And in regards to leadership, you could read through this while I'm speaking because I don't intend to go through every single detail. My goal is to meet all the committees that are present in this masjid, from the education committee, outreach committee, the youth, the social media, and the shura. Alhamdulillah, all of this has been done. We are working now to vet all current programs, suggest what changes are needed in those programs, and to allow these committees to articulate to you, the congregation, what's the end result that you can expect. When we say, for example, there is a class happening every Friday, what that class is about, what value it will add to your life, and what could you expect at the end of that class is what we want to lay out on the board for everyone to see, inshallah. All of this is, mashallah, happening. In addition to that, we want to meet the community. We know, I hope you all know, there are many people in this community that don't attend the masjid. Do you know that? And the numbers are beyond 1/3 of the community. Inshallah, focus will be to go and meet them and sit with them individually and understand from them what their concerns and grievances are, which is holding them back from coming to the masjid. That's something that we will be focusing on, inshallah, before Ramadan. Meeting the neighbors, mashallah, with the help of Brother Ahmed and Brother Parvez. Mashallah, by today, we have met all the neighbors of this masjid, alhamdulillah. All the non-Muslim businesses, the apartment complexes, the people who run those apartment complexes, and the 5 churches around this masjid within a mile radius. Alhamdulillah, we've covered that already. And inshallah, this Saturday we have invited them for a lunch here so that we can introduce ourselves to them and let them know that we are here as a part of the community to assist one another. Also, we want to tweak and adjust this masjid facility, its image, how we're connecting with people through social media, how we're connecting with people through the billboards. So alhamdulillah, that's a lot of work that's going on. What are the goals? It's all written here. I hope you had a chance to go through them. I don't want to bore you and also waste your time. If anyone has a question, please feel free to raise your hand at any given time, inshallah. Moving on, how are we going to address through education? So this was leadership, education. Now in education, there's 3 areas of focus I'm focusing on. Number 1, in the front end, we have problems. We have big problems in this community: domestic violence, leaving Islam, suicide tendency, divorces, so many things happening. We're going to focus on this front end, inshallah, and I'll elaborate. We're also going to focus on the back end. What deficiencies led to this happening? Does everyone understand? When we lacked a certain process, we opened the doors for these problems. So we're going to focus on re-establishing a firm process, and then inshallah we're going to gauge that process right here, as you see, so that we can have a better outcome in the next 5 to 10 years. We will do that through classes, courses, and workshops. Education, we're focusing on youth, the young professionals, the community at large, converts, and sisters. These are the ways in which we are focusing on those specific groups, and the goals are right here. So for example, the youth. We are conducting classes for the youth. What is the goal? Could everyone see the goal there? Provide necessary education that is both important to them, relevant, of course, and contemporary. For our converts, we're going to start a course. The goal is to establish a foundation where they can facilitate future growth that is both constructive and effective. You guys had something that was on national news a few months ago. Do you recall that incident? The boy that was going to shoot up at the mall? Yes? He was a convert, yes? He was a convert. And used to come to this masjid. Let me tell you something. When we don't work with our brothers and sisters who revert or convert to Islam, we leave them in the open, susceptible to very misconstrued, rigid ideologies, which take them to a point that we're not going to be at, and we don't want to be at. So we want to focus on the converts, make them a part of our community, and give them a foundation that they can grow stably and in a non-radical way. These are the classes that are ongoing right now, brothers and sisters. On Monday nights, we have the adab class. On Tuesday morning, we have the prayer shots. Tuesday morning we have a class for the sisters. On Wednesday, I teach the Tarbiyah class, which is for the children who are doing Tahfiz al-Quran here. We do Dose of Deen with the teenagers on Thursday. The Way is also taught on Thursday night, which is the Sunnah class. And on Fridays, the first Friday of every month, we have our, that's another one. The Ideal Muslim Breakfast is every last Saturday of the month, we have How to Be a Muslim. So these are the days, the times, the purpose of the class, and what we're trying to accomplish. Everything is actually written out here. If anyone wants a copy of this, they may obtain it from me after. I don't want to hold everyone back. The courses that we're focusing on are two. For our new Muslims and the converts, there's a class that I've established that will be starting up soon called Focus. We'll be focusing on faith, foundation, family, friends, and future. 5 areas. And then we'll let them continue their journey with us or without us, because inshallah we've put together a foundation. As for holistic lifestyle coaching, it's happening every month on a Saturday. Alhamdulillah, we have 182 students in that class. It's a 3-year course. And as for workshops, we have a Makkah workshop where all the Imams of Collin County come together every month at one of the masjids in Collin County. This Friday it's going to be at Epic Masjid. We're going to be talking about cultural baggage. And inshallah on the 21st of December, it's going to be here at our masjid where the Imams of the surrounding areas of Collin County are going to come here, and we're going to talk about the difficulties in finding a suitable partner and a spouse. So inshallah we address contemporary issues. We try to bring forth solutions. Just keep that in mind. We're also doing these courses here. This right here I want everyone to focus on. I talked about the front end. Inshallah, in the next 12 months, we'll be covering these topics. Mental health we covered in the first week of September in the gym. We had over 500 people. But we're going to continue building off of that. Inshallah, next month we'll be covering bullying, communication 101, why parents and children have a hard time communicating. We'll talk about loneliness, forced marriages, assault and abuse, finances, a big strain on people across religious lines, especially during the holiday season. The marriage problems, how to control your habits, healthy eating, and the Muslim me time. So the courses are already presented. They're ready to go. Every month we'll be covering one of these topics, inshallah. And there's another course that I'll be starting soon, which is the Jesus of the Quran in the Bible of Christianity, inshallah. And all of this is focused on what? Year 1 of our vision. How to enrich our hearts and wake our hearts up, inshallah. These are events that we are having in our community. We have this every first Friday of the month, mashallah. Did everyone attend this last month or this month? The Friday night potluck, not the Friday night potluck, Friday night community night. Did everyone attend that, mashallah? If not, next month, on the 7th, I think it is, of December, which is the first Friday of December, we have a social night here. Please come and attend. We're focusing on ourselves, our life, wealth, money, and the world. And these discussions will be minimal, 10, 15 minutes, and then the community could interact with themselves. We had our Thanksgiving weekend lunch. For those who are concerned that we're celebrating Thanksgiving here, we were not celebrating Thanksgiving. We're taking the opportunity of the time that we had as a community to come together and have a potluck and bond together. Inshallah, next week we're doing this, neighborhood appreciation lunch. We'll be having a community picnic in spring for our children. And inshallah, there's one thing I want to establish twice a year where we come together and we clean up our masjid and we clean up the surroundings of our masjid. Does that make sense to everyone? Whose masjid is this? It's Allah's house, but it's our masjid, right? I know we have, mashallah, people who are doing work here. But if we don't partake in that, we'll never value it. So coming together, cleaning up the masjid twice a year, once before Ramadan, once after Rabiul Awwal, just so that we can get that, one after Muharram, just so that we can have a feel and a connection with this masjid. Civic engagement. Again, not to take your time, meeting with the community leaders. Could someone tell me here why it's important to meet with the civic leaders? Could anyone here tell me that? I want to get you guys engaged. Local decisions are made with our civic leaders. You agree with me? Council, city council, the mayor, the police department. These people make decisions for the city. If they don't know us, and they don't know about us, and we don't work with them, do you think those decisions will be in our favor or against us? Please? against us. It's very simple. When we hide, we're telling them, you have a reason to fear us because we don't want to talk to you because we're building bombs. Basically, that's what they're thinking. We need to engage with them. Actually, tomorrow morning I've been called to the Plano Police Department to talk with the Chief of Police and a few of their members. We've done already a few engagements with the mayor here and also outside the schools. Inshallah, I'll be speaking at Lawler Middle School. I've already spoken at the school in West Plano, mashallah, high school with the MSA students. Universities, we already attended with SMU, and inshallah Texas, UT Dallas is also going to be on the agenda in February, and also with the media. Why we're doing it, what is our goal, all of this is written here. Interfaith and outreach. Alhamdulillah, brothers and sisters, there are people in this community representing Islam on our behalf. As one of the oldest masjids in Collin County, I feel we need to be an active leader. Do you agree with me on that? When it comes to interfaith and educating people on Islam, we need to be there. We need to represent ourselves. If you follow me on social media, you'll know that there are active things going on through this community, for this community, alhamdulillah. We want to meet our interfaith partners that are here. MashaAllah, Dr. Lazuni and Sister Joria have done an amazing job to build relationships, and we'll be continuing that with them to expand to all the Plano clergy members, and inshallah by the third year, all Collin County members of interfaith leadership will be working with us, inshallah. This is the most important. Before I go into this, let me tell you one thing. I'm also working with the Shura, and I'll be working with the new Shura that you all elected, mashallah, yesterday. Was it yesterday or Sunday? Sunday. That we're going to be focusing on 4 things. I need from them to work with me to present to you all a 10-year vision for what? Our financial stability. How this masjid will be financially stable within the next 10 years. For 10 years and more. Is everyone with me? So how can we put together an endowment? For example, solar panels. Think about this. If we have solar panels on the roof, we could provide ourselves our own electricity. And if we could provide, when the time comes that you're allowed to sell it, we can actually sell that energy to other people around us. It's happening in our world, right? Number 2 is the structural stability. All of you, mashallah, our elders here tonight, you have all contributed towards this masjid, alhamdulillah. But truth be told, the next generation isn't as inclined towards putting down money towards the house as you all were. Mashallah, when you came in this country, you established your families, your businesses, your homes, and you built masajid across the country. But the younger generation has not done that yet. Inshallah, they may. But the point is, how can we make sure that structure stays beyond our moral existence is something that we have to focus upon. Finances, the structure, the community. How can we stabilize the community that we will only be growing, inshallah, and we will not fall? And lastly, our impact within society. When people see this masjid, they should not fear. They should not be scared. They should say, these people are the best part of Plano. These are the people who help us that we know and we can work with. So we need to work on that for the next 10 years and beyond, inshallah. I just want to let you all know. The next generation is our biggest concern. Do you all agree? We all are concerned about our children. And for that, I'm going to ask all of you, I need your help. I want anyone here tonight or anyone that you know that is willing to sit with me on a monthly basis to strategize and put together this plan. It's going to take us a year to put this plan together. So we can start executing from 2020. Just send me an email. My email is on my door, imam@planomasjid.org. I want to be part of the youth, young generation think tank process. What is that? Let me explain that to you. So alhamdulillah, we have a lot of classes and events going on for different children in different ages. Do you all know about that? Mashallah, they happen here. But I don't want us to work hard. I want us to work smart. So I put together a 5-tier system. The age 5 to 11, 12 to 15, 16 to 18, 19 to 24, and then 24 to 36. Now you'll tell me these are not children. Yes, they're not children. But we are now getting them to a position where they can merge into being the leaders of this community tomorrow, inshallah. What are we doing this for? There are 4 areas that we need to focus for all of these 5 tiers. Knowledge. Knowledge in Islam and social skills. mentorship, the people that can help them grow in their physical capacity, in their mental capacity, and spiritual capacity. Service, how can they serve their community, the greater community, and themselves? And lastly, how do they engage in society? Does everyone agree with that? Yes or no? Just 4 areas of focus. If we can put together these 4 for all of these 5 age groups, a whole year, a 10-month curriculum, what are we teaching them? So just to let you all know, I've gathered the Sunday schools, the people of Marifa, Rufqa, Sohba, everyone. I've sat with them already 7 weeks ago, and I've asked them to present to me what they're doing. So when I can see what's being done, I can start incorporating that into these categories. So when you come here and say, I have a 6-year-old child, I just moved to Plano, what's here for my child? We could show you. When it comes to education, mentorship, service, and engagement, we can put that for you. When it comes to them having activities or soccer, whatever else, we can show that to you, inshallah. We want to streamline the process, that from this age to this age, they're seamlessly transitioning to the next phase, and from there onwards. Any questions from anyone? Does that make sense? We need to do this. This is a very big task. Anyone who feels they can be instrumental in this, please let me know. I would appreciate it. In the same token, anyone who wants to be helpful in the interfaith work that's happening in this community, please let me know. I would love to have more people. Because remember, this is not my community. I just moved here. I could make it my community when you show me that this is our community. Does that make sense? If we're not invested in this, it's not going to happen for anyone. And so please, we need participation. Instead of getting 5 volunteers and burning them out, if 50 of us did one thing each, maybe 20 minutes a week. Is 20 minutes a lot to ask for from everyone? Is 20 minutes feasible, inshallah? 20 minutes a week. You just help out on one thing. What we are doing together is amazing. But if we say, no, these 5 people could do 20 hours a week, it's not going to happen. So all of us have some skill sets. I want to see us bring our skill sets together on the table and work together, inshallah. Here at the masjid, we also provide pastoral counseling, and also the Imam, myself, have these duties here. They're outlined for you. And to understand the amount of time these things take, from counseling to janazas, nikahs, and of course Ramadan and everything else will be coming forward, I want to show you something. So this is my weekly schedule. So I put everything in a document, so inshallah I'm very transparent with you as a community, and I'm transparent with the board. This kind of shows you which khataras, halaqas, classes, counseling, emails, phone calls, interfaith work is going on. Everything is here in front of you. If you want a copy, I can provide it to you after this program, inshallah. In September, this is the outcome. You are all the congregation, and as your Imam, I'm accountable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to you all. So this, as you can see, is what has transpired in September and October. Anyone have any questions, they may ask. So based on if you all notice, 4 of us lead prayers. Do you all know why 4 of us lead prayers? Anyone? Anyone know why 4 people lead prayer here? Because if you task me to do all 5 prayers 7 days a week, all the other work cannot be done. So we have a beautiful team here with Sheikh Asil, Qari Mu'ad, Sheikh Arsalan. We're working together to take burden off each other's shoulders so we could do the other work that's needed, alhamdulillah. So out of the 48 prayers I was tasked with in September, I did 60. Out of my 40 hours a week, I did 173. These were the amount of religious counseling, which are question answering. These are pastoral counseling, classes, meeting, events, emails, phone calls, text messages, janazas, and social engagements. In October, you could see the spike here. Did anyone see the spike between these two? And I want that to continue. Alhamdulillah, I can communicate with you via email. If you send me an email, alhamdulillah, I get back to you within the hour or within a few hours, depending on my schedule. But alhamdulillah, email interactions are many. Phone calls are going up. And look at the text messages, everyone. I log this every day, just to let you know. I spend 40 minutes every day logging what happened during the course of the day, so we can present to you what's happening here, alhamdulillah. And that's also the amount of hours. So, alhamdulillah, we even finished less than an hour, and I'm going to open up for question and answers. Brothers and sisters, we need to work together to make our community whole. Do you all agree, yes or no? And if we don't work together and assume it's someone else's job, it's not going to happen for anyone. I will not be able to accomplish it. We will not be able to benefit from each other. So in light of this, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us do something for tomorrow. Ameen. Because let me tell you, this masjid, inshallah, after this expansion, we're not expanding anymore. Right? Inshallah. Inshallah. We are now focusing on two things: sustainability and human resources. Whatever the task arises for our community, we will work diligently so that our resources and funds are going towards the right need. We cannot lack in human resources. You cannot improvise anymore. I've been saying this, and I'll say it again. Muslims in America are building hospitals and trying to hire doctors. And when they can't find doctors, they're hiring nurses. And the nurse is doing the job of front desk, open heart surgery, dialysis, and everything else. Tell me, would you feel comfortable going to that facility? Yes or no? I wouldn't. I would not trust my health with anyone except a person who's a professional. So alhamdulillah, we want to do that in a way, and I'll just let you all know. In 3 years' time, inshallah, we're going to be presenting to this community a plan of action. Where number one, we're going to bring scholars who've graduated for 6 months here, and we're going to train them how to professionally execute on the duties in their communities. What does that mean? You all are investing in a sadaqah jariyah beyond this community. So when this Imam goes to Arkansas or Salt Lake City or to Boise, Idaho, it's your sadaqah jariyah. They're learning knowledge in Egypt, in Pakistan, in India, in England, in South Africa. They're learning knowledge. But the biggest problem we all have when we come out from there, how to engage within the society professionally and also understand our boundaries and limits and how to execute on our duties, we'll be teaching them. And inshallah, beyond that, we'll be starting a 2-year course here in this masjid to train people to be of the caliber of leaders. I'm not saying hafiz or alim. I'm saying leaders. Leaders is what we need, inshallah, in our community. So this is a plan, but it all depends on you all. Alhamdulillah, 3 months are almost done. 12 weeks into this responsibility. I could just say this, and I'll end with this. MashaAllah, we have a lot of potential as a community. The question is, can we look past our grievances? Can we look past the past? And can we focus on the future? Can we trust one another? And can we love each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Can we build and not allow shaitan to destabilize us by cutting our feet through baseless discussions, accusations, and harming one another? This masjid by the end of next year will be categorized as a safe zone. A safe zone that inshallah there's no bullying, there's no one that's going to be harmed here. I've already heard of numerous cases of adults being bullied and children being bullied here. Do you think that's what Allah made His house for? No. So this is going to happen when we all become a part of it. So jazakumullah khairan. Anyone have any questions, inshallah? Now is the time to ask. Alhamdulillah, we got done within 15 minutes. Alhamdulillah. Yes. So for the sisters who didn't hear, the two concerns are maybe 14 to 15% of people are coming here every day to pray. Why are the numbers so low? And what's happening that our children come for Sunday school and then they don't come back. And those that were there in the past are no longer here with us. Let me tell you all something. Sunday school doesn't make our communities. It's a fabrication if you feel a Sunday school is going to make our community. In America and Canada, they don't have a Sunday school system. Please hear me out on this. They don't have a Sunday school system. They have a daily system. And because of that daily 1 or 2 hours, that interaction has given the results of the 3 following things. The children's connection as adults to the masjid, their contribution towards Islam, and their ability to raise their children in a better way. I'm not saying what's being taught is gold. They're teaching Quran and Aqidah and a few things, but that interaction allows them to then talk with their teacher and find out the problems and help them grow. Sunday school was supposed to be only the starting of much more. But we made Sunday school the only thing. And I know not just in this masjid, but in so many masjids across America, if you have a 10-year Sunday school program, by year 4, 5, 6, if not 7, kids drop out. They're old enough to say to you, Mom, Dad, I'm not coming to this masjid. I don't want to come anymore. So for that, we're working on how we can make our Sunday school a platform for more, inshallah. And for those who are active in the past and are no longer active anymore, the problem is simple. I'll tell you why. Because the few that had the zeal, we threw things on them. Do it. And we burnt them out. We're not creating an atmosphere and environment. Brothers and sisters, none of us are in a position that we can take care of ourselves and our families alone. We all need an environment. And we know we need the environment because when something goes wrong, we blame someone else or something else. Oh, because of society this happened. No. Because we didn't construct an environment for all of us, where our children could meet one another and they could learn those values and take those values outside rather than bringing negative traits inside. So keeping that in mind, to answer the second of your question, the 5-tier system. That every age group that I showed you, we will continue educating them in different ways. We'll continue building their skills and their leadership role so that they can be the best in everything that they do, inshallah. And that's going to take a year-long process of thinking, deliberation, and putting together the model. As for the adults and the people who only come 15%, if I go out tomorrow and say, come to the masjid, why don't you come to the masjid? Well, I come to the masjid because every time I come, someone tells me off for how I look. Giving an example. And I say, no, you come back, nothing will happen. And they enter the door and someone tells them off. We're not at the position right now as a community, please don't take this wrong, to start bringing those people back. It's part of my plan when we have our game right here and that there's no fighting downstairs or upstairs, that when someone comes, I'm going to share my time with them regardless if I know them or not, and I'm going to be there to serve them because I'm serving Allah's house, because in serving Allah's house, I'm serving Allah. We'll bring people back together. But inshallah, you need to remember that. The amount of people we have praying here, mashallah, is a nice number, but it's only a fraction of the entire community that can come, if not for prayer, to learn, to sit, to join the activities, whatever else. We're lacking a great number of our community. Yes. We surpassed it once. We did. So part of the plan is, if you look at this structure here, this is where we are right now. And just to let everyone know, all pastoral counseling that I do, or Sheikh Asil or Sheikh Arsalan does, is solely facilitating spiritual advice to people regardless of what the situation is. We don't provide professional counseling. We're not professional marriage counselors, nor are we psychologists. We are just imams. But what I'm doing, and keep this in mind, every case that comes to me or any one of us, this is our thing across the board. We don't discuss those cases or expose those cases to anyone. It's part of professionalism. I hope you'll understand. But I'm doing something. I am graphing every case that comes to me in regards to what that case was about, without taking the name or talking about the issue. And inshallah in Ramadan, when I do a presentation to you all, I will show you how many cases were about suicide, depression, marital, domestic violence. I have 12 items that I'm Xing. And in all the cases done thus far, there's a lot to cover. That's our front end of problems. In the masjid, we will do our part, and we are also creating those liaisons where we're sending people to. And I can tell you, even those resources are being strained. So the question is, how many more women's shelters do we need? How many more Muslim psychologists or marital advisors do we need? Because if we even had one for every marriage, it's not going to be enough. There's something wrong that this is happening. So as we try to contain this right here, let me just get my pointer on again. As we try to contain the front end of our problems, we're going to start restructuring the back end. What are the illnesses that come into our life due to the lack of our spiritual development that moves us towards these problems? So as we fix, we are going to restructure. So as that growth happens, these children become teenagers to become adults. Nationally, ISNA 4 years ago addressed the issue of marriage when we had surpassed the 55% mark. Until then, our Muslim community has big problems. We don't want to talk about real issues. We want to stay quiet. When they say in Urdu, sharam ki baat hai. It's a shame. What is the shame? That when things are happening in society, you say, oh, ye to goron ka hal hai. This is the white people's problem. What, you don't have those problems? Drugs are rampant in our community. Domestic violence is rampant in our community. I'm clear enough to come to you and say this is our problem. I don't want to hide these problems, nor do I want to blame someone for these problems. The inability to communicate with our children to communicate with their parents, which is leading to fights in the home, this is a problem. So I'm already working with maps in certain individuals. I'm working with other organizations as I'm building my structure here. That when they come in that position, we send them out to those places. The only thing we're not doing is following up. We do have a psychologist who comes here, and Brother Mahbub comes here also. We're just needing to increase those things, those visitations. So the cost is a problem. That's it. When we have our structural costs down and taken care of, we have an endowment. We have money in place that's helping us sustain the building. Because remember, the facility, if it's $1 million facility, 10 to 12% of that is your annual expenditure, electricity and bills. After 15 years, you have to add another 3 to 5% for wear and tear. I'm saying this because my last masjid, I took care of everything, alhamdulillah. So I understood how this thing functions. The point is, if we have the money then that comes in, we can invest in, as I said, human resources. We want to bring the best of the best to build systematically. We don't want sporadic growth. We wanted systematic growth for all our children and all the teenagers, all the sisters, all the adults, inshallah. So that's kind of what this graph is trying to say. Fix things up from the back, watch the process, so that when we come here, we don't have that many problems as we do now. But there are problems. Sisters, any questions, inshallah? Please, they might ask also. Yes, brother. No one has put their hand up. Just give me that. And we'll finish in 5 minutes, inshallah. Yes. let me say Jazakallah khair. Number one, the Imams are not professional counselors wherever they go unless you can invest in some time and money for us to go somewhere and become those counselors. Again, I'm building a case. So when I present to the community, we can identify what the top priorities are and how we will handle them. Unfortunately, though, it's become the system of our society that when things are on the brink of disaster, we go to the masjid. We say, Imam, help us. And when the Imam can't help us, we'll say, because of the Imam, we got divorced. Because of the Imam, my child left the home. So there's two ends of the problem, but I agree with you. Imam should never take a position of saying, I'm a marriage counselor. We are pastoral counselors, which means through our religion, we provide that spiritual advice and guidelines, but we're not here to say we're fixing marriages. The work. For the community that knows me now, I was an Imam for 14 years. Alhamdulillah. But I left. 2.5 years ago, I left the field. And I promised myself I'm never going to do this again. Why? Because the burden of everything was on my shoulders. And it was a small community, 250, 300. But everything was on my shoulders, and I didn't have time to breathe for myself. And subhanAllah, after 2.5 years of working around the country and doing the work I do and also working with a company, I came back to this only because I want us to build a model. If we can build the model in the next 3 to 5 years, alhamdulillah, we could see it grow, inshallah, and manage it. And that's why I'm doing this a second time. I don't like doing the programs where I'm boring people. But why am I doing it? Because I'm letting you know I need your help because this is our community. As I said it in a harsh way, it's not my community. I meant I'm you here. You have houses here, business here, families are going up here, you have relatives here. I have none of those. So I'm only here to be a part of the process, inshallah, become a part of the community. But if I don't get the help and the volunteers I need, I will burn out. And ultimately, I will leave. I'm not going to shy away from saying that. We need to work together because my family and I need it, your family and you need it, the families out there also need it. So we have a chance to do this together. And that's the only reason I'm saying to myself, this community, mashallah, has some great potential. There's great abilities here. If we can look beyond the small nitty-gritty things and focus on the bigger picture in a professional level, inshallah, we can do great things together, inshallah. So 75% of all that was shown tonight has already started, alhamdulillah. The bigger projects are still in the woodwork. Like we're trying to build this thing out. Trying to build a relationship with these teenagers is the most essential thing. Just being with them, talking with them, and also then, inshallah, moving out and talking with the rest of the people. It's a relationship building process, and it takes time, and we have to give it the time that's needed. Some people in the community might already have reservations for the way I do things, but inshallah, I'm not doing anything haram. To go meet with them, sit with them, have coffee with them, and to have discussions with them as a community, that's the way to bring them back into the masjid. Not because we need them or Allah needs them, but because they need this place also in their life. And so it's a process. And so that said, I need volunteers in interfaith, I need volunteers with the youth, and I need volunteers in our vision planning. So if anyone that yourself or someone you know can help, just email me. And inshallah, from next week, we're going to start forming those committees that we can just sit down and have those conversations, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. Alhamdulillah, as promised, May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from all of us. Say Ameen. May Allah protect all of us. May Allah preserve all of us and our families and our generations to come. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless this masjid and its surroundings. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless this community and its surroundings. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to demonstrate those characteristics and those ideals and values that Masjid Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam presented 1400 years ago. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to grow with His mercy and through His protection from Shaitan al-Rajim. جزاكم الله خير آمين يا رب العالمين جزاكم الله خير and we'll speak to you all soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much. I needed that. I can give you a printout inshallah if you want of that and I can share with you inshallah. Are you from the area? Inshallah. So I can print some of this and give you inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So when can I get it? You can meet me tomorrow, inshallah. I'll give it to you tomorrow, inshallah. Yeah, or if you have time right now, I could sit down and print it out. Okay, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Alright, go. Doing good? Alhamdulillah. Thank you for your patience. Alhamdulillah. Okay.